Welcome to the Spring Hills Podcast. My name is Garrett Elliott, and I am so excited for today's episode because it's going to be a special one. Now, you might ask, Garrett, why is it going to be special? What's so special about it? Well, I'll tell you. Garrett Ward joined me in the green room today, and we had a wonderful conversation all about him. We learned about his upbringing, his family life, how he got into ministry, and we also learned what exactly Garrett does on staff here at Spring Hills, which, spoiler alert, it's pretty much everything. Garrett is all over the place doing so many things. You all know him. You all love him. Let's get to this conversation with Pastor Garrett Ward. Welcome, Garrett Ward, in the green room. And yes, I know you've all been looking forward to this. Garrett, I announced this a long time ago on the podcast.
Oh, did you?
I don't know who heard it, but it's been highly anticipated.
Okay, all right.
So everybody, I finally got Garrett Ward here to be on the
Here
podcast.
I am, ready to go.
You know, he's really stepped out. He's really come out of his shell in the last, year? You've been speaking at First Wednesday.
Yeah, really got me out of my comfort zone there a little bit.
Dragged you onto the podcast now.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, most people know Garrett. He actually probably, besides Brett, is the one that knows the most people around campus. People know him. And you're kind of famous. You know, Brett has the fame claim here just because everybody sees him all the time. And then next in line is really Garrett Ward. When Garrett Ward does something, if you're on the Spring Hills team, anytime Garrett does something at the team nights, it's the hit. So everybody loves it. So that's why I got Garrett in here. We're going to talk a little bit about his story. We're just going to get to know him a little bit more, let you know who he is and kind of his role around campus here, and just share a little bit about his story. So let's start at the beginning, Garrett. Actually, you know what? No, first, who are you? You're Garrett Ward. What do you do here at Spring Hills?
Well, I am associate pastor here at Spring Hills, and that basically means I do pretty much everything except, well, it used to be the joke, except for preaching, which, again, like you said, this last year, I've kind of taken a little bit of that on, doing the first Wednesday. But also a joke, too, that I like to tell myself is it's pretty much everything that Pastor Brett doesn't want to do. I get to do. No, but that's just a joke between him and I and the staff. But myself as associate pastor, I just oversee a lot of the volunteers on our Spring Hills team, a lot of the ministries that are going on. I oversee a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes on the weekend with the greeters and the ushers, making sure that's all going well and smooth, and we have help there. Of course, making sure that the offering gets locked up. That's important.
We did this little spoof video for one of the team nights where a couple of us were Marvel characters, and the first one I think that was cast was we had Garrett Ward as Captain America, which is a pretty fitting thing because he really is all over this campus doing just about everything. Now I think the joke is that you do everything but sing, right?
Yeah, that's actually, yeah.
Do you want to audition right now?
No, I'm going to put that on hold for now, and we can wait until a later date.
So eventually we're going to get him to sing as well. But yeah, you do pretty much, I mean, you're leading small groups, and you have all those
Yeah, small groups, and care ministry is a big part of that too, oversees Stephen ministry and our marriage mentoring ministry, as well as our prayer team ministry, and do a lot of follow-up as well with requests that come in, counseling, and just meeting with people, things like that. Follow up with a lot of the people who want to be baptized and new believers and stuff like that. So just kind of everything involved in that. And then also I've been a part of the setup and tear down team as well, whatever Ashley and Kiki tell me to do, basically to not to design, but to put together as far as our big outreach events. I'm on that team as well.
Now, guys, if you are ever moving your furniture around in your house and your wife has you move the couch and then says, no, not there, let's move it back. Right. Basically, this is what happens around big events, Easter, Christmas, Adventure Week, big events like that where we're setting stuff up. I have seen countless times Garrett Ward set something up only to have them say, actually, no, we're going to go a different way with it.
Right,
and you would just be amazed.
And it's part of the creative process, they say. So
yes, at the amazing attitude that Garrett Ward has in response to that. He just does it. But So you're kind of everywhere here on campus and do so many different things. Let's go ahead and start back at the beginning now. Just your life. So you're born and raised in California, is that right?
Yes.
So where?
Yreka, California, which is way up north. It's not Eureka. People always want to try to correct me and say, "Oh, you're from Eureka." No, I'm actually from Yreka. It's up I-5, almost to Oregon, way past Redding and Mount Shasta, up there in God's country.
Do you ever make the joke that
the
UE in Eureka is actually pronounced Y?
No, I never did that.
Oh, good, because it's not a good joke. I'm glad you don't do that joke.
No, I just usually correct people. But yeah, I was born in the small town of Yreka, about 7,000 people up there, and actually grew up in the surrounding communities outside of Yreka until my freshman year of high school, and then we moved actually into the town of Yreka, and I went to high school there in Yreka, and so. You would think that maybe I'm a country boy at heart, but really I'm not. I don't really have a lot of country in me.
But when you did your country dancing with John Knapp,
I do have some country muse, some line dancing, and some square dancing.
Now, John Knapp and I are from the same area as well. We're both from country areas, so I wasn't surprised to see him doing the line dancing and all that.
And so, so I don't really have that country personality in me. My father was actually a transplant from San Jose, and my parents moved up to Yreka area, and so we never really got to involved in, of course, farming, ranching, whatever that country's known for up there. Fishing, hunting, things like that. We did it occasionally, but I never really had a desire to do any of those things.
So what would you like to do growing up then?
Loved playing sports, so I was a sports fanatic, playing all types of sports. My dad was he was a elementary school teacher, and he moved around to different ages, and he also was a coach for a variety of my sports growing up. So I played soccer, t-ball, and baseball all the way through. You
played t-ball through high school?
T-ball and then baseball. I transitioned from T-ball.
Right.
But starting at a young age, I'm trying to say 5, 6, playing sports, and basketball. Favorite sport playing was basketball growing up. Played that all the way through high school as well, and a couple years in or I played football a couple years in high school as well. So I did a variety of different things. Yeah.
Did you keep going? Do what you said? You played football, basketball. What else did you do in high school? Baseball.
1 year of baseball and 1 year of tennis.
So you did,
I kind of
a lot of sports.
Vacillated between those, but I did 4 years of basketball.
What's your if you had if we were watching the ESPN top 10 of Garrett Ward's sports highlights, what would number 1 be?
Oh man, well I hit a game-winning shot in my junior year in a playoff game.
Nice.
With I think there's 0.7 seconds left. I got the ball into the basket and I just flipped it up and in with my left hand.
A left-handed
left-handed layup. Yeah, I got a pick set for me, and I cut to the basket and a great bounce pass and flipped it in, and we won, and we went on to the next round. But then the next round was probably my worst memories of. I was at the free throw line, and I missed 2 free throws towards the end of the game with 50 seconds left, and we were only down by 1 or something like that.
Glory to shame,
and then
in
we
the
lost.
span of 4 days.
Yeah,
bummer.
Exactly.
The memories of high school, there's so many, it's crazy how quickly it can go up and down like that. Now I know a lot, not a lot. I know that you've got a lot of siblings.
Yes.
Let's, a lot of people probably don't know this. So how many siblings do you have?
I have 8 siblings, and so there's a total of 9 of us kids. I have 4 brothers and 4 sisters. So,
where do you land?
I am number 4, and
right
I have
middle.
3 older sisters, and I'm the oldest boy of our family. And so I have 4 younger brothers and 1 younger sister. And so, yeah, growing up in a big family, we were always asked if we were Mormon or Catholic.
Interesting.
But we were neither. And
what's the age span between the 9 of you?
About 20 years, about 22 years.
So your youngest sibling was born, and your oldest sibling was coming out of college.
Yeah.
Wow.
So no twins, and no anything like that, no sets, and all from the same parents over that 20-year span.
Do you have a good relationship with your siblings? Like, that's a huge gap. I know, like, my brother and I, we're 4 years apart, and growing up, it wasn't that we weren't close, but we were 4 years apart. So when he's in high school, I'm still an elementary school kid, so we didn't really do much together. And we became better friends once he got out of high school, and I was becoming more, we had more things in common, I guess, once I got into college and stuff. Were you close with your siblings?
Yeah, I mean, definitely close with our siblings growing up, and especially the ones, closest to us in the birth order. But yeah, I mean, we're definitely a close family, all involved in athletics and things like that. So, now, like you said, kind of, being adults, we all love each other, get along.
You guys stayed pretty close?
Yeah.
Are they all local?
We're all local. Actually, not local. I mean, all
Northern
of us are
California.
in California, except for one of my sisters who's in Washington, D.C. right now.
Okay.
But everyone else is in kind of Northern California, San Francisco, all the way up to Wairika.
Cool.
So my youngest brother is actually going to be a senior in high school this coming year.
That's
so he's
crazy.
The youngest.
Because even when you said that the 20-year span, so you're how old are you right now?
34.
Okay, so man, that's crazy. High school kid still.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So who's the next one after you, sister or brother?
Brother.
Did you guys get to play sports together?
Not really. He's actually 2.5 years younger than me, and so I mean we played together, but we were always in different grades and different levels.
So when you were varsity, he's JV.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So we never really crossed over that way. But we'd all growing up, of course, we always played in the backyard and played sports together and competed.
Competitive family?
Yeah. I'd say we were growing up. We were definitely competitive, especially with my brothers. And my brother closest to me, under me, definitely got the brood of my competition. And
well, you had the 3 older sisters. That poor kid probably was just like, he took the brunt of it because you're like, I just want to beat somebody out.
Yeah. Matthew, forgive me for all that I've did to you growing up.
Oh yeah, name all 8 of your siblings quick.
So yeah, Jessica's the oldest, then Amy, then Sarah, and then myself, then Matthew, Andrew, Laura, James, and Thomas.
That's pretty good. I don't know if I had 8 siblings. I don't know that I'd remember all 8 names. I'm terrible with names, though. I know your name because it's the same as mine.
Yeah.
What kind of, with 9 siblings, you probably have a pretty wide variety of personalities. What personality were you? Were you I know you're fairly introverted now, but what were you like as a kid?
Yeah, I think, as a kid, I was more introverted than extroverted, more kind of shy, easygoing, laid back, not necessarily, wanting or needing to be the star of the show per se in any setting. Of course, competitively wanting to be the best and do the best. But, as far as, kind of socially, I was, kind of reserved and laid back in that sense. And so it's kind of how I would describe myself, easygoing. Yeah, kind of growing up in a big family. You're competitive around sports, but also there's other things that kind of draws out that competitiveness, as far as one of them being eating, and it was
who gets the best piece of meat,
who would eat the most, whatever pizza or whatever we like.
You actually mean like who eats the most, not what you get to eat.
Right? No, we all had to eat the same thing.
There's 9 kids, we had to fight to see who got to eat tonight.
No, we all had to eat the same thing. My mom would only make one meal and not to make, of course, multiple meals for everybody.
Yeah.
But just it's kind of an unconscious thing, I think. I don't think we necessarily talked about it, but it's just like that sense of getting the most out of more than your sibling.
Sure. Yeah.
And so that kind of run through is kind of multiple avenues growing up in a big family. But also, too, I was, having a big family, you don't necessarily get to be spoiled or pick certain things that you want. My mom and dad would make decisions basically for us, you
Right.
know, as far as, food or what's to eat. And we were, told, not to complain. And this is what's given to you. Be thankful for what you get. And so I kind of have that attitude of just being content in the sense of being thankful in that sense. I think growing up in a big family, and of course not being totally wealthy. Of course, my dad was just a school teacher, and my mom was mostly a stay-at-home parent. She did work at a gym, a couple days a week.
Did you guys, once you were older, were you guys? Babysitters are kind of built in at that point, right? So you've got some older sisters. How old's the oldest one compared to you? Like 6 years older or something like that?
Let's see, 6 years older. Yeah. 2, 4, 6.
So by the time, by the time you've got, she's 14, 15 years old, you guys are able to watch out for the 2 and 3 year olds.
Right.
How many of you? Did you have was there ever a time where 4 of you are in high school at the same time? Were you that close?
3 at the most.
Okay.
Well, actually, I think only 2 because we were all kind of spread out 2 years apart.
Yeah.
And so I think only in high school 2 years. 2 of us have been in high school at the same time.
What was it? Did you have one of your siblings? You can make this quick answer. Who's the center of attention? Who's the goofball?
Ooh, center of attention. I'd say Amy. She likes to rile you up and push buttons and see your response. And I kind of have that too. I had that with my siblings, being able to push someone's buttons and get someone riled up. And but she's definitely the most vocal.
Sure,
I think.
Did you guys? Well, this is kind of weird too. I always think of it. I had 2 siblings, so we always were like, "Oh yeah, you're very much like a firstborn, or you're a middle child." Obviously, not all 7 of the middle children in your family are taking the traits of the middle child. What's that?
Right.
Is it just? How does that work when you've got so many siblings? Is the youngest one still very much the baby, or is it no, we're kind of in groups of 3, we got these 3, and then it starts over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying.
Because you've got 3 kids. Your oldest he's the firstborn, and then you've got your middle child, and then the usually, I don't know how true this is everywhere, but the young one often ends up being kind of the goofball.
Right, and Thomas is definitely goofy at times. So, but I'd say it's kind of a little bit more, I think, more difficult, like you said, being so many and kind of spread out over that long period of time, and also. Me being the firstborn boy, I don't know if that necessarily affected me.
Are you protective?
Or made me protective in the sense of where I was in the family order. I know, being having 3 older sisters and being the oldest boy, did put some responsibility on me as far as, what kind of my role was and is for the family, for the siblings and my parents. And that's kind of played out a little bit in my life.
Cool. Did you guys grow up in church?
Yes, we did.
Were you involved in the youth groups and church camps and stuff like that?
Yeah. Went to church all my life, involved in the weekend services and Sunday school and youth groups and youth Christian camps, a couple, missionary trips as well throughout high school.
Where'd you go on mission trips?
We went to Salt Lake City, Utah, and we did a ministry.
Did you guys fit right in there?
To the Mormons.
Sorry.
Well, it wasn't my family; it was my youth group.
No, I know.
But if my family went, they would. Yes, we would be accepted. No, but no, that was really just kind of eye-opening, learning about, of course, the Mormon religion and culture, and seeing that in high school.
It's really interesting, huh? Start learning when you're younger and you start learning
Mm-hmm.
about other people's beliefs and stuff. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, I'd recommend all Christians at young ages to definitely learn a lot about other religions and where they're coming from, and how that lines up with Christianity.
How about becoming a Christian? Was that something happened when you were really young?
Yeah, I believe it happened when I was really young. I have one instance where I just remember, really making that decision. I was 7 years old, and there was an evangelist that came to the church on one evening service, and laid out the gospel. Talked about heaven, talked about hell, talked about Jesus, and talked about sin. And in my small mind at the time, it touched my heart. I believe that God was working, and used that time for me to go forward. And I actually went forward at the invitation and prayed with someone after the service, was given a Bible. And so I remember that specific time of making that decision of following Jesus, and repenting of my sin and putting my faith in Christ to the best of my ability, what I understood at that time. And then got baptized that summer. Went through a baptism class.
How old are you when this was going on?
7.
Okay, cool.
And so I went through a little baptism course with the pastor and the others who were getting baptized, and not vividly, but just to remember that a little bit, just kind of going through that. And
are you able to remember stuff about that course, and like when you're talking, because you have a lot to do with the baptisms now?
Mm-hmm,
do you did you retain some of the knowledge from that?
No, I don't remember specifically what was taught, in that course. But it's again pretty much the same things as we teach as what we believe as a believer's baptism in our church.
Right.
So.
What's something besides when you became a Christian? What's something from your childhood, just in your relationship with Christ, that was something super impactful that has stuck with you over the years? Because now you're going on, I guess, close to 30 years of being a Christian. So, was there moments throughout your walk with Christ that you go, this is where I know that my faith took a turn for the better? I kind of always picture this like it's like a roller coaster sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So like you're going up, and then sometimes it's you're going fast and you got it going, and then it's like you got to taking it slow up this hill or whatever. And then it's like you get over that hump and you're rolling. But was there any times like that you can remember being a kid or teenager?
Yeah. I mean, kind of my personality too, growing up, is more of a rule follower, I think. And so that's kind of my personality as well. And so I didn't mind necessarily wanting to follow the rules or do the right thing. But definitely it was more of an outward thing for me, kind of growing up, kind of playing the part of Christian.
Right.
And, this is what you're kind of supposed to do. This is what you're told to do. So you do it, which is good. God wants us to obey him and do it. But again, there's things going on in my heart and my mind, the secret sins that, would really pull me down and frustrate me of saying, why do I keep going back to this? Why am I keep struggling with this when I know that it's wrong and things like that. So I remember kind of dealing with that. Kind of seeing myself as maybe in a sense of a hypocrite or a religious leader, in the sense of just going through the motions and doing the right thing on the outside, when I knew my inward thoughts and my inward heart was wicked and still fallen and sinful. And so trying to reconcile that, that was just a process of just continuing to learn God's grace even in that. He doesn't want us to be these perfect picture of perfect holiness on the outside, but then on the inside just wasting away. Jesus says it starts in our heart, and that he sees everything. He sees the sins of your thoughts and your heart, and really need to really come to grips with that, and understands God's grace in that as well.
Did you have somebody throughout your childhood that was like a small group leader or a youth pastor or something that was really instrumental in helping you go navigate those times?
Yeah, I really looked up to a youth pastor in my years growing up through high school. He was definitely a mentor who was we were able to be open and vulnerable and talk about these things. What it looks like to be a Christian, what we struggle with, what we how we deal with those type of things. And so, yeah, he was really someone who.
It's really cool to look back on times like that, like people that were in your life, the instrumental things that they taught you or helped you through. And I look at that now, and I just sometimes you don't see. And I'm not just talking about people that are working in ministry, but small group leaders, people that are serving, the eternal impact that you can have on somebody,
right?
With such, not to say that you had small interactions with your youth pastor, because sounds like you guys were pretty close, but having an eternal impact on people. I mean, it's like what we talk about a lot in Growth Track and stuff, right? Just by having a small conversation can really have such a huge impact on people. Did what you had, with all, I keep coming back to 9 siblings. I got to be honest, that's a lot of siblings, or 8 siblings. Did becoming a Christian, you were young, but did becoming a Christian and then going through youth groups and things like that, did that have any effect on your relationships with your family or relationships, maybe your friends? Did that have any effect on those?
Well, again, yeah, just fortunate growing up in a Christian family where, now all of my siblings are walking with the Lord and understand the gospel. So that's awesome. And, growing up, how that impacted our family. I think, just being on the same page with our values and beliefs definitely helps.
You guys could lift each other up, help each other.
Yeah, and of course, no persecution from someone within.
There's such a cool bond
family.
with siblings. Because I feel that now with my siblings, where it's like there's something different. Obviously, there's something different about it, but like there's something different about even just my brother and I have become such good friends over the past, 10 years or so. Since probably right after college, we really started getting closer, and they can have such a huge. To have somebody like that, I can call my brother whenever, we talk about whatever, and yeah, we become good friends, but the fact that he's my brother just makes it so, it's just different. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's just no question of if they care about you. Friends, you can even, no matter how well you know somebody, you can still kind of, even if it's not true, feel like maybe they don't like you or they're mad at you or whatever. Right. Siblings, it just doesn't happen that way. You just know, like, no matter what I do, this person cares and this person loves me.
Yeah, it just feels like, we all have each other's back. We all want what's best for each other. And just that familial love, that family love.
Any thoughts of getting a softball game going with all 9 of you?
Yeah, we need to.
Has that happened?
No, we haven't done the
That'd be amazing.
Game
That'd
yet.
be really cool.
Yeah.
Let's go forward to like you being called into ministry. So when did that happen? Actually, let's do this. I know you and Ashley both work here at the church. If you don't know, Garrett's wife is Ashley, and she does a lot of the Ashley and Erica do a lot of the video editing and the social media and things like that. So they're very involved in the media side of things. And if you're at church ever on a Sunday, Ashley's sitting in the back of the computers, running the lights and things like that. So they're both extremely involved here at Spring Hills. But how did you and Ashley meet?
We met here at Spring Hills.
Okay, great. So if you're single and no, I'm just kidding. Although we do have a lot of singles groups and small groups and stuff. So yeah, you guys met here?
Yeah, we had a college career group at the time. When I moved here from, of course, up north. I came down here to go to Sonoma State, and shortly after, starting Sonoma State, looking around for churches, and my brother was actually a youth pastor at Neighborhood Church, just off of Shiloh here, and went to church there a few times and experienced that, and then he actually told me about the college group at Spring Hills Church, and so I went there, and that's where I met Ashley. We got to know each other, and took off from there.
Did I just miss this? What brought you here to Santa Rosa?
Oh, yeah, going to Sonoma State.
Okay,
so
yeah.
I went to a JC up in College of the Siskiyous, and then I transferred down here to go to Sonoma State.
Cool.
That's how I got to Santa Rosa.
And then you met Ashley at the college group.
Yeah.
And Ashley, she has a lot of family here at Spring Hills.
Right. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So you kind of
married into this. Now, Ashley also is she's Brett's niece.
Yeah.
So if you know Brett and and Kiki obviously being Brett's daughter, and then Brett and Eve, I should say, because
Mm-hmm.
Eve is also on staff. So you married into the family that planted and started Spring Hills.
Yes.
When
So
was that
Ashley grew up in this
intimidating?
church. Actually didn't really
Brett's
think
not a-
about
Brett's
it
not
too
an
much.
intimidating guy.
He wasn't too intimidating, when he married us, and definitely not intimidating. Maybe of course maybe more intimidated by
Scotty.
her father,
Scotty
just
can be
because
an
he's my
intimidating
father-in-law.
guy.
But of course, getting to know
And
him,
again,
he's not
Scotty is
intimidating.
behind the sound booth a lot, so you've seen a lot of
Yes.
Garrett's family around here too,
Yes.
or in-law family, I
In-law
should say.
family, yeah.
So yeah, you're over at Sonoma State College Group. You meet Ashley, and then let's talk maybe about how you got into ministry. What was the trend or the journey there?
Yeah, so the journey there is, kind of growing up in the church again and becoming a Christian at a young age. Never felt a call early on or even really thought about ministry or being a pastor or doing anything specific that way growing up. And so it wasn't until, going off to college, coming to Sonoma State, where God started to shift my attention and shift my focus in what He was calling me to do. My plans were originally to I was studying kinesiology, which is the study of human movement.
I know what kinesiology is.
Well, if you don't know, it's a study of human movement.
I had a friend who studied kinesiology, and he was the president of the kinesiology club. And I always, in good fun, kind of poked fun at him for that because he would say no one else wanted to do it. So it's a great honor to be the president of the kinesiology club.
Well, I wasn't president or anything, but that was kind of my passion and direction at the time because, like I said, I loved sports growing up, and I didn't advance in my skills enough to continue playing. So, but I still felt I wanted to be involved in athletics and do something around sports. And so I thought kinesiology would be that route, whether it would be athletic training or physical therapy or even physical education, PE teacher.
Did you actually end up getting your degree?
My undergrad. I got my undergrad,
bachelor's.
Mm-hmm.
And what about, did you do seminary?
Yes.
That was actually fairly recent, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, more recent than my undergrad. Yes.
Yeah. But were you doing seminary when I got here, like online courses or something?
No, I had finished.
What time?
Okay.
I got here in 2017.
I finished 2016.
Okay, so that's what it was, and you had just finished up with it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So when did you decide to do seminary? Actually, I think I just got ahead of the story because you got into ministry prior to going into seminary, correct?
Well, that's when my call started. Yeah, my call, and you asked me kind of how God called me into ministry. And so, I felt like God was calling me before I started seminary.
Got it.
So going through Sonoma State, and like you said, I mean, or like we've talked about, our faith is challenged a little bit more at different stages, and in college, it's definitely challenged, especially at a secular school, teaching a lot of secular ideas and philosophy. And so dealing with that, and I felt God kind of just changing my passions and my desires around Christianity, and even sharing my faith, being more vocal about it. And so I got really into apologetics, which is really defending the Christian faith of why we believe what we believe and the evidence behind it, just so I could have good conversations with some classmates and my roommates about Christianity. And so I really got interested in that way.
Now, you to jump on those conversations, I would guess that you're somebody that you don't come off very aggressive in your conversations. You're a very soft-spoken person in your conversations. Were you able to have good conversations with people that really disagreed with you on faith that maybe you wouldn't have been able to have if you were maybe, I'll say it like me, where I can be kind of aggressive with, if I have this, the belief in something and I disagree with you, even if I don't mean to come off harsh. I can come off very harsh sometimes just because I'm passionate.
Yeah.
But did that make it to where you were at Sonoma State having great conversations with people? And
yeah, I mean, I think I have the ability to listen and kind of take someone's view in and not take it personally or take it as an attack towards me or anything like that. Because as we know as Christians, it's really not the persecution or the hate is not necessarily against us. It's against God, of course. They're rejecting God and not us. And so, I really, put myself in that position as well. But yeah, just being able to be a good listener and just kind of give some feedback, give some truth back to someone where maybe they hadn't thought of something before or haven't looked into some of the evidence that Christianity has, having that available for them and letting them know about that. And then, of course, it's up to them if they want to look at it or even reason with you and take it further.
Sure. Did you feel like those kind of conversations really helped you prepare for ministry?
Yeah. I think that those really helped me be more passionate in pursuing ministry. And I had a roommate who kind of grew up as a Catholic and then became more secular and atheistic in his worldview, and so we had a lot of conversations.
Do you remain friends with him?
Yeah, I mean, we're still friends.
That's really cool.
And then also too, in my junior year of Sonoma State, another thing that kind of got me going into ministry in that direction as well is my father had a heart attack, and he was in an induced coma for about a week. And this, kind of really shook me up as well and brought me to my knees. Of course,
how old was he at that point?
51.
Oh,
and I was 21. And he had some heart issues, and he had missed his medication or something, and so he ended up having a heart attack. He was actually driving, and my brother was in high school at the time. He had to put on the brake, stop the truck and pull it to the side and call 911. And they were able to get there relatively fast. But, that event, kind of shook me up, kind of.
Why was it a coma? Why did he go into a coma?
They weren't sure about the brain damage. And so they when they try to bring him out of the coma, his body reacts, and then they have to put him back into an induced coma until there's some healing or the healing in the brain or whatever.
He made a full recovery?
So he made a full recovery from that. And, we see that as God's, as a miracle that God used in his life. The doctors didn't give him much of a chance, at least, from what they prepared us for. They kind of prepared us for the worst. They didn't know how he was going to respond when they brought him out of the coma, what type of damage was to the brain with the lack of oxygen. And so that shook me up, and kind of going back to being the firstborn boy, it's like, what am I going to do with my father's, totally debilitated or passes away or whatever? What does that mean for me? Am I going to be going back home and helping with my mom with the family and stuff like that?
Your siblings were pretty young still.
Siblings were still pretty young, and so them not having their dad there, so that kind of shook me up. And my mom said, don't worry about it right now. We'll see what happens. Go back to school, because I went up there for about a week to see what's happening. And she said, go back to work, take care of what you need to take care of, and we'll see what happens. But thankfully he was able to come out of that and fully recover, and still with us to this day. But that event, again, brought me to my knees, and just showed me the just for me personally, the reality of death, and just how short this life is and can be. And at one moment you're doing fine, and at the next moment you could have a heart attack and pass away. And so the closeness of death kind of wore on me, not personally, but for others around me who don't know Christ. And so that's when kind of evangelism started to kind of burn in my heart for others to know who God is, who Jesus is, so of course they can have eternal life with Christ after this life. And so that event, stirred in me as well to kind of shift my focus.
Now, you said your brother was a youth pastor at this point, or a pastor?
My brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law,
actually.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, because you're pretty young, 21, so I thought you said your brother. I'm like, if you're the oldest boy, your brother would have been pretty young doing that.
So my oldest sister, Jessica, she married a pastor. He's a youth pastor, and now he's a pastor up in Redding, neighborhood church.
Oh, right on. So you graduate, you got your bachelor's in kinesiology. What was the first job you had out of college?
First job out of college. So all the way through college, I put myself through school at Costco.
Oh, that's right.
So working at Costco, pretty much, full-time, but part-time, working and going to school. Going to Sonoma State. And then it was either continue my education and get, further education in kinesiology with a master's and do athletic training or PE, or it was, totally shift and go to seminary and work in ministry. And like I said, that's when God just put my desire, the desire on my heart to go into ministry.
And you knew Ashley at this point?
We're dating, yeah.
When you graduated, you guys were dating?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Right on. So that was...
during Sonoma State, we were dating my last year, and then we got married shortly after I graduated.
What year did you
Sonoma
guys
State.
get married?
Oh, man, hard question.
2009.
2009.
No. 09. So you guys are at 11 years now, yeah?
Yes, it'll be 11 years in July.
How'd you propose?
Well, I took her to a nice French restaurant called
Oh, she loves
the Garden.
French, huh?
Yeah, the French Garden, and proposed there. And I wrote a little poem song type thing for her.
And he's going to perform that, right? No, I'm just kidding. That's really cool.
So
I love proposal stories.
Yeah,
That's something kind of
nothing too extravagant. I think it, again, it fits my personality where I'm not really, flamboyant and excitable or whatever, and I'm just kind of.
I don't know, dude. I've seen you dance. You're a good dancer.
So and it fits Ashley too. She didn't want anything too crazy and too public as well, and so
like she didn't want trapeze artists coming in.
Right.
Yeah. Or big. Yeah.
She didn't want
on
a
the
big
scoreboard
scene.
at a Knicks game, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Right. She would have loved it, I'm sure. But.
So then now let's go to when you started seminary.
Starting seminary again. Those conversations too were with Ashley as well, because we were together, and of course getting married. We got married, and she was with me during this kind of transition from my one path to seminary, and so having her involved in that, and then also talking with the youth pastor at Spring Hills at the time, and also Pastor Brett, getting their input and feedback on my directions and my calling and what that looks like, and also advice on where they thought would be a good place. And so the youth pastor here had actually taken some courses at Golden Gate Baptist Seminary, and so that's where I decided to go to seminary.
Was that Billy?
Yeah, Billy Andre.
Okay.
And so right now it's actually they relocated to Southern California. It's called a Gateway Seminary now, but I think they still have a northern campus around San Francisco area. But I decided to go there part-time, and they had a commuters courses where you could go on Mondays and take this lineup of courses, like 3 courses all day Monday, get it out of the way, and then you work on the homework the rest of the week.
That's cool.
And so that's what I did most of the time, also taking online courses as well throughout the time. And so, getting a Master's of Divinity, it's called, with an emphasis in pastoral counseling.
That's
Christian counseling.
And you've done. I'll ask you this a little bit later. We'll get into like Stephen ministry and that kind of stuff. But that's obviously doing all that stuff really probably prepared you for the specific ministries you're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
So working with family. Now this is obviously is your in-law family that's here, and it can be kind of I don't know. I planted a church with my dad and my mom, and I've worked with my sister through ministry and things like that. And actually, my sister is a huge reason why I got into ministry. So just being in ministry with family it can be challenging. There's a lot of challenges that come with it. So it requires sacrifice, even with, let's say, like Ashley obviously works here, but even with families that have your spouse doesn't work in the same church or in ministry altogether. But it requires sacrifice. Sometimes the sacrifice is your family's making the sacrifice, not you. So what are some challenges that your family's been faced with in ministry? How do you guys overcome it?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, some of the challenges that we have faced in ministry, I mean, for me personally, I haven't necessarily faced too many, personal challenges. But I think the important part, as far as when you're talking about
makes it work,
challenges in ministry and making it work, is definitely being on the same page as your spouse. Really, communicating well as far as what I'm called to do. Really believing that God has me at the place where He wants me, and then also your spouse seeing that as well, and seeing that as their calling, in the sense of supporting you and God bringing them into that role of this person is called to ministry, and so God, since I'm with this person, God is calling me to support them and encourage them, and really be on the same page as that.
Right.
And so, like you said, with Ashley and I, we're really on the same page. We work, of course, at the same church, which definitely makes it easier.
I've actually worked what my job is here. I work more with Ashley than I do with you on things, just because Ashley's more on the production side of things. And I've seen that just in working with a team. It's very similar just working with a family, because once you all know you're on the same page, the trust is there to just be like, look, I know where your heart is at with this, and there's no question of like, hey, what's your motive here? Or why are you trying to, why are you wanting to do this? Or why do you feel like you need to do this? And working with a family, I really feel like that's the same thing with, Caitlin doesn't work here at the church, but being, definitely she's in ministry too. Just, she serves at the church, and she has to make sacrifices as well, just because there's weeks like, Christmas and stuff where we're here all day, every day for a couple weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, having the understanding of like, I know why you're doing this, and I am on that same page.
Right.
Is such a huge, once you get to that point, it's a lot easier to navigate the challenges.
Yeah. But too, the other side of that as well is we can't, of course, neglect our immediate family and their needs, our roles as fathers, as husbands, to really minister to them. Of course, that is a calling as well. God has called us to be husbands and fathers and put us in that role, so we definitely can't neglect that and sacrifice one over the other. There definitely needs to be a balance of how you're working those together. One can't override the other, and you can't abuse one or neglect one for the sake of the other. And so there definitely has to be a healthy balance in families of ministry, and that needs to be dealt with.
Oh yeah. So who have been some of the biggest influences in your life throughout, whether it's elementary school, junior high, high school, college, or in ministry? I've had definitely different people that have been influences in different spots, and obviously, our parents are huge influences in our lives, but who are some of the people that you've really looked up to and have influenced your path?
Yeah, I mean, I think looking back now and not knowing it at the time specifically, but like I said, the youth pastor that I had, really played a huge role in my life as far as, mentoring me spiritually and leading me through my high school years. And so I think, him planting the seed and being that example of, a Christ follower, as well as a pastor who deeply cares for his students and their lives and their ministry. he wanted to know, everything about our lives and be involved in what we were doing, coming to sports games and
did he see the buzzer beater?
Yeah.
Oh,
he
that's
was
cool.
there. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Do you have this on tape? Did anybody get a video of it?
I don't know if it's on tape.
Our high school years are really unfortunate because we're like right in between that stage of where everything's on video. I
don't know. It was on radio though. I remember getting interviewed after the game.
That's awesome.
So it was definitely play by play.
We're gonna have to look that up. So you're a youth pastor. Who else was a big influence in your life?
Yeah, definitely a youth pastor in my life, and also I think just a solid person in my life is my grandparents, and especially my grandfather. Just again, the way that they were around our family and supported our family, encouraged us in everything that we were doing, encouraged us in our faith, being examples of a godly marriage too. My grandparents, just seeing their love for each other, their love for their kids, and their love for their grandkids, really, set a big example for me and my siblings. And definitely think maybe something we took for granted when growing up, but again, looking back to see that they were always there. They're always celebrating us at all of the family events. So those are my grandparents are really big in my life.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about coaches or anything? Oh, getting a call.
Coaches, like I said, my dad actually was my coach throughout elementary school, pretty much kindergarten through
for everything
through 8th grade, everything pretty much except for soccer.
Oh wow! So your dad was kind of a sports.
He was.
I don't want to call him a nut, but a sports.
He
fan.
did it all. Yeah. He
That's cool.
Played volleyball, he played baseball, played basketball. He coached in all of those.
It'd be funny if you were like, he played in the Major League Baseball for 19 years and had this amazing career, and he's a Hall of Famer. And I'd be like, what?
Haven't you heard of him?
That's cool. My dad actually always avoided coaching me because of my personality. Be more. I'd be less willing to listen to his instruction, which that was always just kind of funny because my brother. I don't think was that way. So that's interesting. Just your dad was able to coach you.
Yeah, so he was definitely a big influence for me, of course, as a role model looking up to, and as a coach and as a teacher, playing all of those different roles. And then, there's definitely a teacher for me that I had in the 4th grade and the 7th grade who was a big impact in my life. Just again, his presence of just the way that he showed care and an intentionality, not only for me, but for, all of the classmates, and again, wanting the best for each one of us.
Sure. And
giving his best for us.
I've noticed that, maybe you noticed this more, your kids are a little older than mine, but just how much more appreciation I have for the people in my life that were like that, because I pray for that for my kids to have people like, my high school pastor and certain coaches that I've had. Mm-hmm. And like, I just really am like, God, please put these kind of people in my kids' lives. That way, because they huge impact on me throughout my life. So it's really, it's even changed my perspective to appreciate them even more.
Yeah,
now that I've got kids. Yeah. So let's go back to you being in ministry and stuff. So, what exactly brought you to the staff here at Spring Hills? What was the timeline there?
I'd been volunteering with on the Spring Hills team as a volunteer. Since I kind of started at Spring Hills, started as a volunteering in the youth ministry, working with Billy Andre and. Going to camps and doing small group type things. And so was doing that. And then throughout my seminary experience, there's, kind of the ministry activities or assignments that you have to do. And I did that through the Spring Hills Church. So, Pastor Brett was actually one of my mentors through seminary, so just kind of working with him. And then so in that process of going through Stephen Ministry, volunteering, I was able to get some experience in in ministry to adults, and so I actually did help start the Stephen Ministry while I was only a volunteer going through seminary. And so we implemented that, and we trained a group. I think that was like 2013 or something like that, and got that going. And then, after I graduated, and what is it? I think it was the end of the spring of 2014. I finished my seminary degree. And then shortly after that, Spring Hills had an opening for just a part-time position of associate pastor, and basically just kind of being a volunteer coordinator. And so I started small on the Spring Hills staff, just part-time. Just started 10 hours a week, and then it just built from there.
Cool.
And so, that time, again, I was still working at Costco full-time, and then I was working at the church part-time after I graduated seminary.
Right. So let's talk about Stephen Ministry a little bit. That's something you're hugely involved in.
Mm-hmm.
What's your role with Stephen Ministry, and what is Stephen Ministry, and then what's your role within it?
Yeah. So Stephen Ministry is a one-on-one caring ministry. And so what we do is we train people in the church to be able to walk alongside those with challenges as far as, crisis in their life, grief, maybe illness or a transition or a loss of some sort, just some of these big life moments that someone needs care for, someone needs extra attention. And the design of Stephen Ministry, we didn't design it. It's been around for I think over 40 years or so. But it's an organization that people that churches implement within their church, and they have the training that we take people through and all of the material that we just teach, and then facilitate the ministry from there. And so we match up people, our Stephen ministers, they're called, with people who need care, and they meet one-on-one, however long they need during their difficult time.
Right. Are you like the head of the ministry? Do you co-lead it?
Yeah, I'm considered a kind of a co-leader with a couple other leaders on the Stephen Leader team, and then we have about 30 Stephen ministers kind of doing the one-on-one ministry that we match up with people.
Cool.
And we do the training. The leaders do the training. We'll probably have another training in the fall, starting the end of August.
Cool. That's awesome. And you guys, how long is the training?
It's a 50-hour training.
Wow.
So it's pretty long, but we want people to kind of consider it their small group for the semester. So it's like you're going to your small group once a week, and then we have a couple kind of retreat setting times throughout the fall.
Yeah. I've actually, there's been quite a few people where I've encourage them to come and seek out the Stephen Ministers ministry, just because I know like people benefit from it, man. Just having somebody to sit across from them and listen to them and pray into their lives and support them is so huge.
Yeah, your mother-in-law is a great Stephen minister.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she's just joined like last year. Oh, she hasn't been here that long. It's weird. Yeah, I feel like she's been here a long time. The last training
she went through, in the fall.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, if anybody listening to this is interested in Stephen Ministry, contact Garrett or John Barrett, right? He's the other staff member that kind of is involved. So let's go down just to your own personal kind of walk with Christ. And then let's just actually, what are some of the biggest challenges just personally in ministry that you feel? Do you ever feel, a lot of people, I get this a lot, people think, oh man, you must be so tired. And I'm like, well, I mean, God puts us in ministry. And so when we have these, these weeks where we're working, and everybody on staff, we have these huge weeks where we're working way more than just like a normal 40-hour week. And sometimes the response that I get to that is like they feel bad for us. And I'm always like, I told Eve the other day, I'm like, I love it. Like setting up this sound system outside right now. This is, I mean, I'm wired to do it. Like I like doing this, and no pun intended with wiring, but yeah, I mean, like being in ministry, there's just, my dad's a pastor too. So I grew up around it. So just the understanding that, there's some weeks where he's working 100 hours, and other weeks where it's a normal, 40-hour week, and and he's at my basketball games and, things like that. But what have been some of kind of the biggest challenges for you in ministry?
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges in ministry, and
I should say my point with all that was that there's a lot of assumptions of what the challenges are.
Right.
So
right.
what are your challenges?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily the long hours or things like that. But I think at the beginning, actually, kind of when I was going into ministry and trying to figure out what ministry with myself, what God was calling me to look like, what God was calling ministry to look like for me, I had a challenge in the sense of, discovering that through my seminary classes and degree. I didn't have this specific vision of ministry of what I was going to do. I thought maybe it would be a youth pastor or some sort of pastor or whatever. But I didn't have this necessarily clear picture right out at the beginning of feeling like, okay, yeah, I'm called to be a senior pastor and preach every week, or I'm called to be a missionary and to go to this place. I didn't have a specific calling like that. I just kind of felt that I was called to go into ministry, and I took that kind of step of faith for God to kind of flesh out in His time. And so that was, kind of a challenge for me to figure out what my gifting was specifically, going through those courses and what God would have me to do. And, one of the biggest challenges for me in going through seminary was basically almost failing my preaching class.
Oh, interesting.
And so that really, shook me up a little bit. And the teacher, the professor, pulled me aside, and said, he wanted me to encourage me, but he said,
was that more on the actual like preaching or like your preparation? Because you've preached a couple times here now. Your material is really good.
Right.
So, like, how are you failing this?
Well, in my presentation, basically. So I wasn't good in the class setting, I guess, or when I was giving the message, I was nervous. I didn't do anything that they wanted me to do. So I just really kind of felt, that was a challenge for me. He kind of took me aside and said, I see some potential in you, but you really have to work on it. If this is something that God is calling to you, you definitely have to work on it, and it may not be, come naturally to you or whatever, but he just said, you can do this, but definitely it's going to take a lot more work. And
and there's people,
gifting.
Some people have the natural ability to just stand up in front of people and they're just good teachers. They're good. That's their gift, right? They know how to prepare. They know how to communicate. They know how to get the exact point across that they need to get across.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always looked at people like that and envied them. I did a lot of preaching at the last church I was at, and I got to be honest. I've told Kiki that I'm like, hey, I kind of want to look into doing some of that again. Now it's been years, and I'm so incredibly like nervous for the first time I do it, purely because I would want to do it and get all the feedback from Kiki and Brett and John about like, hey, what do I need to work on with this? And I'm scared of that. I'm scared of them being like, well, you really need to work on this because that was terrible. It can be pretty intimidating, especially when it's not something you feel like is your gift.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I kind of had to work through that struggle of not being good in that area or gifted, or like you said, it came naturally to me. And so, that kind of, challenged me to think, what would ministry look like.
Right.
And so, that's kind of where God kind of guided me to more of the pastoral care, the Christian counseling side of things, and being more, of an emphasis in those roles, which, which is what I'm in now. And so it's where God has put me in specifically for my gifting and what He's brought me through. But that was just a challenge too. And I just encourage those who are going through seminary, if your idea of what a pastor looks like or what you think you have to be, just be patient and work through those things, and God will open doors to lead you to the right place, to work through that. And then, and also some of the other challenges too, kind of in my role is, that there seems at times I've been a little overwhelmed with a lot of the responsibilities and being pulled in different directions as far as overseeing so many different things, and not maybe feeling like I'm putting a good effort or 100% effort into one specific thing and doing it well. I'm kind of pulled into different directions and doing a lot of different things really good. So that's kind of been a challenging at times, a little overwhelming, but just, I just have to take a step back and kind of regroup and look at the big picture rather than all of the little details that are going on.
Right.
So that's, been a challenge in my role as well, specifically and personally.
What about the most rewarding parts of ministry?
Yeah, I mean,
good question, huh?
I think it's all rewarding in the sense of I feel like I'm doing what I'm called to do, and it's glorifying God. So it's rewarding in that sense of in fulfilling me that way.
Right.
I don't necessarily feel like I need to have a sense of fulfillment in the people around me. It's great to get the encouragement and the support from people around me, but if I'm feeling that I'm doing what God wants me to do and it's His will, and then I feel good about that. I'm blessed about that.
Yeah.
But also, it's great to impact people for eternity. Just
Sure.
Seeing lives change, transformation happen in people's lives when they understand the gospel, when they come to know Christ. Right. That reward is enough. Just seeing them cross the line and come into an eternal relationship with Christ. That's the ultimate reward there.
What would you say are some of your personal habits that help you with that have helped you grow in your relationship with God, that have kept you going?
Yeah, I mean, definitely continue to have a daily quiet time. Myself, personally, I do that in the evenings of just reading God's Word and studying God's Word.
Right.
Consistently being in a small group, I'd say that's important for someone. Or
leading 9 of them, right? Sorry, that's another joke that Garrett leads tons of small groups. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. So when you're in a small group, you're constantly learning from others as well, and sharpening other people with what you're learning, and so that's one of the best ways to continue to grow is, of course, that personal study is good, but that small group time, that connection time where you can minister to each other, I think that's where a lot of growth happens.
Right.
And more growth can happen. The Bible is full of, loving one another, encouraging the other, and it's all other-centered. So if you can be other-centered in even your personal study, of course you're loving God and you're getting something out of it. But if you're learning something to be able to pass on to someone else, I think, you're going to grow all the more because you're understanding it for yourself. You're being able to apply it, but then you're also able to teach it to someone else. And so I think that's the best way to continue to grow.
Going back to what you were even saying about learning other religions too. I mean, like if you can learn about other religions, you're able to talk to those people that have those beliefs so much better because you understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Before we, I like to do this little thing at the end where I just do some rapid fire questions. So these are just kind of quick, and I don't think I prepared you for these. So
I don't like that part.
Well, you're fine. This isn't anything too crazy. But before we get to that, is there anything else just as far as like wanting to share with our church about who you are, or anything you want to share about yourself or your family?
Let's see.
Or did you cover it all?
I think we covered a lot of it. Yeah.
When can we expect to have you preaching again?
Well, you can pray for me. Actually, Pastor Brett asked me to do first Wednesday in August.
All right.
So, pray for me.
Outdoor on the lawn. That's cool, man. You really do a good job with those, so I'm glad that you're looking into those. All right, so you ready for these rapid fire questions?
Yeah, let's go.
So what are some of your hobbies right now?
Oh, wow. My hobbies, well, fantasy sports, when fantasy sports was going on, when sports were going on.
So when we were, let's talk about this for a second, because when we were...
I'm not actually playing sports now, but I just live in the fantasy world.
Right, fantasy world, which is very popular right now. So let's talk about this, though, because back in February, we had a Super Bowl happening, and we got to be pretty involved with this. And I told this to Brett because of the fantasy thing, I really felt like I was the only person that was rooting for the Niners because I was over there. We were over at Kiki and Matt's house, and I had to go in the other room where the second TV was because correct me if I'm wrong. You guys were all in like some pool together, right? Where you guys were all had Mahomes on your team.
Yeah. There's you pick the players that you think are going to do best, and there's a salary cap, and then you cheer for those specific players, no matter what team they're on.
Here I am thinking, I'm going to go watch the Super Bowl with a bunch of 49er fans. Now I'm not a huge football fan, but if the Niners are doing well, I enjoy reveling in that glory. And my brother is a diehard 49ers fan, so I want them to win for him. And it was like, wait a second, here we are, an hour north of San Francisco, and y'all are rooting for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, I wouldn't say I was, but yeah.
So that's what my question was going to be. Were you part of this?
I mean, I was in it, but I can kind of separate myself in the sense of I'm still rooting for my team, which is the Niners. I want them to win more than myself.
Then you want to win money in your fantasy league. So then that brings me to my next question then. So what are your sports teams? So the Niners with football, what other sports teams?
San Francisco Giants and Golden State Warriors.
So you're a Bay Area fan.
Yeah. And actually for some reason our family is a Duke fan.
Interesting.
Because I have an aunt who actually was a professor there for a period of time, and so my parents were watching Duke when they were really good. And
what do you mean when they were? Aren't they?
They still are.
Coach
I guess.
K hasn't left.
He hasn't
still
left
there.
yet. They've won a couple of championships, which we're happy about. But
Duke is
Duke basketball, not anything else. It's just Duke basketball.
Sure, they're easy. They're easy to be good fans of.
Yeah,
cool. All right, favorite kind of food.
Favorite food. Okay, well, growing up, it was always pizza. We'd always have pizza nights on Friday night as a family. That's kind of the big party night. It was a movie night and family night, so pizza. And I'm a pasta guy, too. I love lasagna, so lasagna is one of my favorite.
You like the Italian food.
Yeah.
Right on. Italian food's not,
and another thing about me also is I'm pretty easy to please, and so I don't really have strong opinions either way, so... when you put food in front of me, like I said, I don't really complain too much. I'm not like a food person.
What he's saying is he's more than happy if you buy him dinner.
Yeah. So whatever you get me, it's great.
Feel free. What's your favorite vacation spot?
Ooh, vacation spot. Well, my wife and I went to Paris together. That was one of my favorite vacations.
And we got to see your outfit of the day. That was on Instagram. Garrett was making sure we all knew what his outfit of the day was.
Yeah, so going to France, going to Paris, that was one of my favorite vacations. Went on a cruise last year. It was really fun. Did
your family go on a consistent vacation every year?
Growing up,
That's what I meant. Yeah, sorry. When you were a kid.
Yeah, we went on Our vacation was basically a road trip down to the Bay Area. From Eureka going down to, Six Flags, or 1 year going to Disneyland, or a couple years going to Disneyland.
You guys drove from Eureka to Disneyland?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What was that, 12 hours?
Long drive. Probably more
than
14,
that?
I guess.
Oh my goodness.
I think we stayed somewhere overnight and then went the rest of the way. So
yeah, see, we grew up, and when we grew up going down south, because I'm from the Central Valley, it was like, we 5-6 hours. So that's like, to me, that was kind of the max.
Yeah.
Maybe San Diego was like 7 or 8 hours or whatever, and it was kind of like our family wouldn't really drive much further than that. 14 hours? That's, with that many, did you guys have like a bus or what?
We had a big Suburban, so it was a 9-seater, and like I said, my family's kind of spread out, so when the oldest was in college,
Yeah, there was never all 11 of you in the car.
11, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
yeah. Has there ever been?
9 at the most, yeah.
No, I mean, like, you were with your parents. All 11 of your family members, right?
I mean, not growing up. We weren't all... I mean, we've all been together.
I mean, in one car.
Reunions. In one car? No, I don't know.
Have you guys ever had a 12-passenger where you've all been in it?
No.
These are good questions, Garrett.
Yeah,
don't look at me
good.
like that. What about a dream car?
Oh, dream car. Again, I'm not really a car person.
Okay.
But, oh, wow. I don't know.
That's okay. You don't have to know.
I don't have a
what's
car,
something,
really.
if you got a day off, what's your first choice to do?
First choice to do.
If you could do anything.
I'm more of an introvert. I'm boring, so just kind of staying at home and relaxing.
That's not boring.
No.
I get it. You got to recharge.
I know. It's my wife has to get me out of the house most of the time. No, we're both introverted, and I love doing things. We went to the beach just the other day. That was fun, with having fun with the kids out at Doran Beach. So
yeah, cool. All right, last one. You can just say one, but if you have a couple of them, some bucket list items, one or multiple. What's something that, like, in the next 30 years that you'd love to do? It doesn't have to be something that's like this will happen. It can be something that you're like, I'm not even sure if I'll get to do it.
Yeah.
Like for me, I've always said I wanted to go to Australia. I don't know if I'll ever get to do
What?
that. Is that what you're gonna say?
So definitely.
Oh, I just ruined it.
It was gonna be mine. Actually, no. I had an uncle who lived in Australia that we never got to go visit growing up, and he lived down under. He was with the Aussies, and so actually, I was gonna say one of the things, just go to Australia.
That's funny, dude. Yeah, go to Australia. The problem for me is I won't get on a plane. I hate flying.
How are you gonna get there? Gonna take a boat?
I don't want to get on a boat either. I think that's the reason why I say it's probably not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, thank you for coming
and
in.
Also,
go
to the Super Bowl.
Go to the Super Bowl. That's a good
one.
That's a good one.
At some point.
What, have you been to any cool sporting events? Memorable?
I mean, just a regular season games. Nothing really memorable.
Oh, okay.
No.
I got a little spoiled in one year in 2012. I was at the perfect game that Matt Cain threw.
Oh, really?
And then that same year, my brother called me the morning of Game 7 against the Cardinals, and when it was pouring down rain.
What?
And he was like, "Get to San Francisco.
Yeah.
We're going to the game." And I was like, "Dude, I don't have money for that." And he goes, "Don't even ask me how much the tickets are. I bought you one. Just show up." And I'm like, "Okay." So I got to go in the span of, what was that? So June to November.
Yeah.
Not even October. June to October. I got to go to 2 extremely rare things: seeing the Giants clinch the pennant and also see a perfect game, which is pretty amazing. And then we were also, the next year, we were at the game where Yusmeiro Petit one batter away from throwing a perfect game. So we almost saw 2 perfect games. Anyways.
In the span of a year.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, anything else you want to share before we leave?
No, that's
great.
I think we covered it all.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that is Garrett Ward.
Yeah.
If you remember this. He spells his name with 2 R's and 2 T's.
The correct way.
And I spell my name weird with 1 R and 2 T's. So this has been the 2 Garretts. Thank you for joining
Garrett
us and
Garrett
listening.
Show.
Thanks
for joining.
This is gonna be every week now. I'm just kidding.
Mm-hmm.
And also, don't forget, we've got a movie night coming on Friday night. So Garrett talked about movie nights and how fun those were.
Yeah, Friday night movie night. Toy Story 4.
Toy Story 4. We're gonna do some movie trivia right before too that I get to be a part of. So. Come check that out Friday. By the time y'all hear this will be, I think it'll be Thursday when you hear this, so maybe Friday morning, but Friday night, movie night on the lawn, so don't miss out on that. And then, of course, we're back with our services now on the weekends, normal times, 5:30 on Saturday night, and then 8:15, 9:30, and 11:15 on Sunday. So we'd love to see you out there. Garrett, you have a sign-off or something you want to say?
No, what's my sign-off? Should I have a sign-off? What should I say?
I don't know. You can say whatever you want. Say...
all you need...
Oh, what was it going to be? Go ahead.
No, my favorite verse, Colossians 3:23, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord and not for men. So, that's what I want to leave you with.
Awesome. That's a great way to leave. All right, everybody. Have a good week.